As the excitement for Dominaria United starts to build up with the player base, it's time to remind people this is not the set you think it's going to be. You know, as the hype train gets ready to barrel down the track, bringing us Dominaria United in September, it's time to talk about the expectations for a set like this. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thanks a lot for hanging out with me on the channel. Whenever there's a new set that people have been to before, like in 2018 we went to Dominaria, we were just blown away. It had Saga cards, Richard Garfield was involved. We liked the set. It was a fantastic time to be in Magic. That nostalgia is what Wizards will play off of, giving us the new set. So the expectations will be very high. We'll be pumped up. We're ready to go. I myself am very excited. These are two of the sets coming up, being the Brothers War and Dominaria United, the sets I've been waiting for all year. We've talked about it lots of times on the channel throughout this year. And although I was very surprised by sets like Kamigawa and Neon Dynasty, these were the sets I was waiting to get into. Add that in with new pricing, as Wizards has raised the price level, the expectations of the player base go higher as well. And I think we're going to see a lot of players disappointed. Not because the set won't be good, but because of the expectations of what they think will happen in their mind. We all know what we'd like to see. We know what creative things we would do to make this set just an amazing experience for each and every player. But we're not the R&D department of Wizards of the Coast. We're not the marketing team. We're not the financial guys backing it, saying we've got to put this in and this in to make sure there's a certain value and level attained. Profit loss margins. We're not those people. So although we may have an amazing experience in our minds, that's probably not what's going to happen. And I think some players will be disappointed. All we have to do is look at what Wizards of the Coast has already given us this year to really break down a set like Dominaria United. We've already had Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Think of that mana base. Think of Otawara the Soaring City, Bozaju Who Endures. Think of those lands, Taknuma the Mire. When you start thinking of that mana base, okay, then we go ahead and we now take a look at what happened in Streets of New Capenna. We got some Triomes there, right? We got some of the Triome lands. We get some triple color in there. Okay. So more than likely, when we get to Dominaria United, we're going to have the same land base that we had in 2018. Expect the cards like Sulphur Falls. Those are the lands that come into play tapped unless you had like an island or a mountain in play. Unless you already have one of those in play, these will come into play tapped. I'm just saying it's a possibility. It seems likely they're not going to give us a brand new mana base. They'll give us a couple of land cards, maybe a mana base like we saw before in 2018, but don't expect some crazy new dual lands. If it happens, be blown away and enjoy. I know I will. But I'm tempering my level of what I'm expecting from the set. Wizards has already sprinkled in some salt and pepper, a little bit of spice, by giving us the Lost Legends from Legends 1994. Obviously, they're adding that in as part of the marketing for this set, which again makes my expectations just go a little bit lower on what I'm expecting to come from this set. Yes, there'll be good Planeswalkers, but as I showed in an earlier video, cards like Jaya are just going to be repeats of things we've seen with Chandra. They're not new. They're the same kind of mechanics. It almost seems like it came formulaic out of a machine, out of a computer generating certain cards to make sure certain things are attained. Now, when I look at that and look at the new cards we have inside other sets like Kamigawa, like Streets of New Capenna, you can almost tell what they're going to give you. You can almost look at it and say, hey, if we've already seen these types of cards and we know there's going to be a lot of like artifacts and mech destruction from Kamigawa, we got things that'll blow up artifacts and enchantments. There'll be certain levels of cards attained. There might be a few big banger cards coming back. You might see the big dinosaur Taxos coming back. You might see certain cards like that, certain legends coming back in. The Weatherlight may come back, right? You're going to have Karn in there, definitely. Teferi probably is going to be there at some point. You're going to see a lot of the Planeswalkers in that first set. On this multi-arc, I expect to see quite a few of them, and I'm good with that. But don't expect them to be overly powerful, amazing cards. More utility cards to fit within the set. And when this happens, when people have their minds built up to that expectation level, which I myself have been caught doing a few times, because I just imagine how I would put a set together, the disappointment can just be shattering. You're just like, oh, they could have done this, they could have done this. And then everyone gets crushed. But when you start looking at what they've already given you in a set, like we just talked about, you can start breaking it down and saying, okay, if we saw stuff like Streets of New Capenna, all right, we saw some decent cards in there, some dragons, some demons, some angels, okay. And you added in that with the card, because they want to make all these sets synergize, right? They want them all to work together by the end of that year. As sets rotate out and these sets come in, they've all got to be interplayed between one another. And that's what you're going to see happening, right? You're going to see those 4 sets have some kind of working ability with each other, or they wouldn't have been created in the first place. And when you know that that's coming down the pipe, and you see the power levels of those cards, chances are it's going to be around the same level. It won't be too much higher, it won't be too much lower. There will be a nice balance of cards. But what I think we will see from things like Dominaria United that people can expect and be excited about is a pretty decent story. It's great to see the Phyrexians coming around. It's great to see the battle that'll happen. I want to see what happens with my Thralls. That's got me excited. They better leave Spardadia alone, or just basically say the Thralls have taken everybody over, because that's what would happen. In my mind, that's how I see it happening. So I'm kind of excited to see if they finally give me some Thrall tribal support. Things like that could happen on a really small scale that won't cost them much either way, because they are creatures that exist on Dominaria. But expecting some massive Planeswalker or bringing back some huge honking beast with overly powered cards, I know we like to see power creep. I know we like to see just that odd card that just stands out like an Oko that ends up getting banned. We get excited that first little while before they ban it. And they could do something like that. They could put an overly powered card in. But instead of having the expectation of that card being there, I think it's a wiser choice to just be excited if it happened. Wait for the spoiler season to come out. Wait for things to start unfolding. I know a lot of players who are staying on the back lot right now, not putting down hard-earned money until they actually see a pretty much full reveal of the spoiler season. They want to know what land mana-based cards they're going to get, how decent are the planeswalkers and spells that go along with the set, what legendary creatures they're adding in. They're not counting on Lost Legends, that salt and pepper being added in there to make the value of the set, to make it worthwhile for the players to play and enjoy. But we can get built up just going along with what other YouTube content creators say, what other channels read and write, and what we see written down on paper from people in articles and agendas they have of their own to get people to look at it. I understand that well. And I try to temper everything with my enjoyment and excitement of the game by saying, look, don't get yourself too worked up, because you actually don't know yet. The spoilers haven't started popping out really en masse. I've seen a few cards now, which gives me a kind of middle-of-the-road opinion of the set right now. The Lost Legends is a nice add-in, but it's not going to make or break the set. It's just a little bit of enjoyment if it happens, and only if you're buying a collector box. Who else out there thinks really they should have put commons and uncommons inside, say, set and draft boosters, and then just all the rares would go to the collector boxes? I'm just saying, Wizards, you could have broken that up a little bit better instead of trying to make people buy the high-priced product of the collector box, especially if the collector boxes don't deliver. If there's not good cards in the set, people don't buy the collector boxes anyway. They just get upset and say, there's junk in here. What am I hoping for? A Lost Legend? See what I mean? They can get that excitement built up that if the cards aren't there, the resentment will build, Wizards. It just happens. So this set is not going to be some hyper, super amazing set with super overpowered cards that everyone's going to be like blowing their minds over. That's not what the game is about. There'll be decent cards. There'll be a lot of fun inside those boxes when we draft and enjoy it at pre-releases and playing with our friends. And there's going to be some commander cards people will get to add in. Probably some pauper, some modern, a little bit of everything for everyone is how Wizards has been doing it. And when you take that in your mind and break it down, it gives you a better state of mind when making decisions on what to buy. Buying sealed boxes just for the sake of buying them, just to crack a box when you might be able to pick up the singles, maybe you're going to be doing some drafting with friends. I just think there's a lot more to it than what people give credit for. You can't say to Wizards that they're going to give you a banger set just in your mind because you see how you would construct it. You got to step back, take a deep breath, realize how companies like this work, and then you won't be disappointed. You'll still enjoy the set, but if something crazy does come along, then you can get super excited, get on board, and just say, I never saw that coming. I was hoping, but I didn't expect it. It's the best part. That's how I feel about Kamigawa. I was expecting to be let down, and then when I saw all these amazing cards, Kamigawa's got a lot of good cards that people have passed over right now. They are amazing. and they are going to hold value later. And that idea could come to Dominaria United, but I'm not betting on it. I'm not pre-buying tons of boxes for the hope of something that may not happen. A lot of the people like myself, we're going to sit in the backdrop a bit. I've ordered a couple boxes for the channel, some for the patrons, some for my viewers, so we can do some openings, have a good time. But I'm not betting my hard-earned money on things that may not happen. I'm not just going to jump on there and say it's going to happen, but if it does, I'm ready. I'm willing to play if something amazing comes along from the spoiler season that drags us in. I'm just not setting myself up to be disappointed ahead of time. It's going to be a fun set. It's going to have a great story, but that doesn't mean powerhouse cards are going to come along with it. Guys, I'd love to see your opinion on this in the comments section. I can't wait to see what everyone thinks about this as we get closer to spoiler season and more cards start showing up. It's going to be a great set. It's going to have a good story. It is Dominaria. I mean, what can we say? It's the world we all remember from back in the day. A lot of older players are going to be really hooked on stuff like this. If Wizards executes well, no one's going to be too disappointed or too happy, or it could go deep one way or deep one other. A lot of disappointment, resentment, or a lot of super excited, and banning's coming on the way. The ban hammer could come out. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me on the channel today, guys. Welcome aboard to all the new subscribers to the channel as we move toward the 20K level and the party that's going to happen. Thanks again, guys. Have a great day wherever you are in the world of Magic. Big shout out to all the fantastic patrons on this channel. You guys know that these videos would not exist without Patreon support, without people here to help me make these videos. Patrons make the world go round. So special people, the ones who make it to the end, here we are. And it's funny how many emails I got from people who are angry and sitting back on this one, but at the same time, I can't get that way. You guys know me well enough to say, like, I gotta buy some. This is Dominaria United. Just like D&D, just like Commander Legends, Battle for Baldur's Gate, I gotta have some. I just love it too much not to. It's the original world I started playing on way back in 1993, so I'm gonna be buying some. Will I buy as much? That will really depend on the spoiler season. I am not willing to put serious hard-earned money behind stuff unless it's as good as I hope it's going to be. But I've really tempered my expectations. I hope a lot of people do too, because I know how they build sets. When I see spicy cards like this being added to Salt and Pepper from the Lost Legends, it just makes me think, you know what? Maybe the cards won't quite match up. Maybe this will be a way of Wizards kind of downplaying things a bit. But if not, and I get super excited anyway, good for me. Good for you guys out there. I'm just taking it, with a little bit of that grain of salt, saying it may not be quite what we expect. The story's going to be there, though. I really think we're going to have a great story arc for this one. Kind of reminds me of what's coming with War of the Spark when they bring back big baddies like this. So I like that. I like the idea of it. It's very interesting to me. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. You guys are here. You're at the end. You know. Things change up all the time in the world of Magic. Wizards, you're crazy out there, man.